Hi, so in this video I'm going to show you the main features of an inner city area. Again, we'll focus on our case study that we've discussed in class, which is in Edinburgh. And here I am in the west of Edinburgh. I'll just reacquaint you with the geography of where we are. Here's Edinburgh Castle in the CBD. And as we proceed along Princes Street, this is Princes Street here, and we head out westwards, we start moving into the next zone of the city on the Burgess model, which is the inner city zone. And one of the first features that I want to show you is the housing design. Now, it's common to find gridiron street patterns in the inner city. Here are some nice examples of gridiron layout housing. You can see how they are maximizing the use of space by compacting the buildings together. If we zoom in a little, you can see the style and design of the structures is tenement based. This again maximizes the use of space to fit in as many housing units as possible into the small area. Now, the historical reasons for this are largely that the people who would have occupied these tenements at the time of their construction would have worked in local factories, and they wouldn't have owned cars. That wouldn't have been part of their lives, so they needed to live very close to their local factory. As a result, it was in everyone's interests that the tenements were built in a manner that managed to fit as many people into the space of land as possible, so as many workers could live near their factories as possible. Times have, of course, changed, but nonetheless, a gridiron street pattern is a key feature of the inner city. And I don't have to go far to find more examples. You can see more examples of gridiron street patterns here, and more good examples of gridiron street patterns here as we explore this area. Now, as we move through Dalry into Gorgie, you can see Tynecastle Stadium here. And there is a whole history to the geography of football clubs, and that's something we explore in class. You can see more gridiron street patterns in this area of Gorgie as well, as the tenement housing is laid out in a way that maximizes the efficient housing, or warehousing, if you like, of the citizens and the workers that lived here. Now, I mentioned industry. A feature of the inner city is industry. There are still some factories that are found within the inner city, and you should look out for them. This is an example of one of the last breweries that exists in Gorgie, or Slateford Fountain Bridge, depending on where you're from, but Gorgie will do. And this is the Caledonian Brewery, and it still produces beer. Now, one of the main industries in this area would have been beer producing. So not only can you look out for factories, but you can also look out for the sites of factories that used to be and have since been demolished and destroyed. Now, if we just move the map slightly over here, we can find good examples of this. This area here, you can see, is in this site here, undergoing renovation and reconstruction. This whole area is being rebuilt. This site further along has been cleared. It is a brownfield site. It used to be for industrial use, factories in other words, and warehouses, but has since been destroyed because those factories fell out of use. Another site over here. So you can see that a common feature of the inner cities is to have factories or to have open spaces where large structures would have existed, and you can suggest that that's where factories would have been. Here we have the Fountain Bridge Cineworld complex, and it is built on the site of an old brewery. And that is an example of the kind of redevelopment you might expect to see in the inner city. But we're getting a little bit complex. The main things to look out for in the inner city are gridiron street patterns, very dense usage of the land, factories or brownfield sites, factories or old areas where factories were found. And then we can look at transportation links. Now, it doesn't take me long to find, for example, railways crisscrossing the area. Here's a railway. And you can see that there are railways not just there, but along here as well. and these railways are essential to the area in its industrial past for getting goods in and out of the area. And if I zoom out a little bit, you can see networks of railways crisscrossing this landscape. Not all of those railways are in use anymore, but nonetheless they are a feature of industrial inner city landscapes. You might also find, more rarely, but nonetheless they're worth looking out for, another form of communication and transport that industrialized areas would have used, and that is in the form of a canal. Here we have the Union Canal, and this would have been one of the main ways that the factories that lie alongside this canal would have shipped in and out their goods, their heavy goods that they needed to transport. Generally speaking, inner city areas, sorry, have a lack of open space. They tend to be highly built up with every available space used. That's not to say there aren't park areas. What appears to be a park area is in fact a cemetery. And you can see that in the modern inner city, lots of areas have been helped to be green and a bit more park-like to improve the living conditions in the area. Okay, so that's a little exploratory tour of Dalry and Gorgie. Dalry here, Gorgie there. We've visited the gridiron streets, we've visited the railways and the canals, we've looked at the factories and the industrial sites that used to be factories, as some of the principal clues that tell you you're looking at an inner city area.